Hello and welcome to a special edition of Northwest Profiles. I'm Tom MacArthur and I'll be your guide for a trip through the KSPS PBS archives as we celebrate 38 years of storytelling. With hundreds of profiles to choose from, this will be a fast-paced sampling of the people, places, and events that have inspired us over the years. The inland Northwest and Western Canada is filled with natural beauty, but it's the people here, our neighbors, that make this such a great part of the world to live in. Here are a few examples.
The cartoonist is paid to reveal the awkward truth when all others would prefer a tactful silence. You gotta have a thick skin because these people are gonna be calling you up, calling you names, calling you, I've even been called anti-Semitic. I've also been called Jewish. I've been called communist, pinko, fag, all kinds of names. But when you grow up with the name Milton Priggy, it kind of sets you through the paces first before you become a cartoonist.
The entertainment aspect of it, of course, figures into the equation as well, but I think that probably and foremost, the cowboy bullfighter relies on the safety margin. These guys realize in the twinkling of an eye, one wrong move or a move too quick or too late, and they can be laid up for a long period of time, if not forever.
You have to have respect for the bulls, but you can't fear them. Them bulls, they see, they'll come out 2 to 3 times a weekend, and they get it figured out in a hurry what the game is, and so if you start playing their game, they've got the controls.
He's a modern-day singing cowboy, in harmony with life on the range, and under the spotlight as one of America's best yodelers and country western singers.
My music career and the ranching career kind of go hand in hand. They feed off of each other. I write a lot of songs about the Western way and the Western lifestyle. I write songs about horses and the cattle and basically the life that we live out here in Dusty.
In his lab overlooking Lake Pend Oreille, Dr. Forrest Bird continues his work designing and manufacturing medical respirators. With his wife Dominique, he evaluates a prototype of a new generation of respirator, capable of gently delivering 1,000 tiny breaths of oxygen a minute to fragile lungs. It is another landmark in a field Dr. Bird has led for over 40 years, since his invention of a respirator called the Mark 7.
We founded Project Beauty Share in 2009, and our mission is to collect beauty and hygiene items for women of all ages. We are helping women that are living in transitional living centers, women that are homeless, and the working poor.
The Black Lens is an independent community newspaper that focuses on the people and the issues that are important to the African American community. The original intent for the newspaper was for it to be a happy paper. I think I wanted it to just be soft news, where I just shared stories about people that were in Spokane and the things that you don't really hear about. That lasted probably not even through the first issue.
The Newcomer Center is a specialized English language development program for brand new English language learners to our nation.
Feel the magic all around. It's my lucky day.
Manning teaches a lot more than English and math. She provides a safe environment for her students to adjust to their new home.
And so just knowing that we're all in the same situation and that we're going to be able to do this together, it's not as risky.
Denny committed his time to the community, and specifically, the Japanese American community. He joined the Japanese American Citizens League and served the JACL for 42 years at the local, district, and national levels.
He got the idea to develop a low-income housing facility for our Issei's, which had lost so much during World War II.
The Issei are first-generation Japanese Americans. In 1973, Denny successfully lobbied Congress for federal funds to build a low-income senior housing project in East Central Spokane.
Feast World Kitchen is a place where people can try international food. The food that we find at Feast is where former refugees and immigrants can come and cook their ethnic food. food, it's our story. With the emadatsi, that's from Bhutan, then you come to paneer, which is India, and then the tofu I got in Nepal. And with the American abundance, you can bring everything together. That's how I build my recipe and my menu.
I'm Erin Lavoie. I'm a lumberjill athlete. When I first started, and for probably the first 10 years of me competing, you step up to your block and you're like, okay, I gotta work on this, I gotta do this. It comes to 3, 2, 1, go, and boing. Now, since I've done it so much, I think there's a lot less stress and pressure going into it, and I can actually attack it more deliberately.
Artisans and craftspeople, the creatives, have always been at the core of Northwest Profiles, generously sharing their inspiration while revealing their techniques and hard-earned expertise. Sculptors, painters, fly rod makers, what a plethora of talent. Take a look.
Though the spring in their step suggests otherwise, they never move. But they have moved many people to feel what sculptor David Govader would call their spirit quality.
Bloomsday, what a beautiful movement of people that is. And the thought of doing a couple, 3 people running through the park in that sort of setting just started growing and growing until all of a sudden it clicked in my mind, seeing humans as though they were pebbles on a beach or aspen leaves blowing in a tree, that they were no longer individual people, that they were all little parts of a texture, of a giant overall theme.
One of those who was swept up in the most recent calligraphic revival was Lars Nisus. Currently a full-time math instructor at Spokane Falls Community College, Lars' interest in the art of handwriting started through a friend, a story not uncommon among calligraphers.
My first attempt at calligraphy stemmed from seeing a friend maybe 25 years ago writing with an unusual pen. And he was making these unusual marks on the paper. And I thought this was quite interesting. And one thing led to another, and I bought the pen and tried to make the marks myself. And
Jade.
The color, the translucency, the hardness, when you carve an edge or, whatever you carve in, it's not going to disappear when you sand and polish. Because of the toughness, it's sort of interlocking fibers, prevents any kind of breakage where other stones would certainly break. And it's heat resistant. You can polish jade up to an incredibly high temperature, and it takes a lot of heat.
I have an image suddenly pops in my head. Anything can spark it. Piece of music, conversation I hear, I see something, little thing, and suddenly pop, I see painting. It's not a precise idea, just the feel of it and where I want to go. And I do a little thumbnail sketch. It's not a beautiful sketch, it's just like, a note to myself, not to forget what I was feeling at the moment.
I do wordless narrative, visual narratives that challenge the written language.
Ronaldo Gil Zambrano, or RGZ for short, is a printmaker and a mural artist living in Spokane.
I just feel that printmaking is just this beautiful thing that empowers people, because you get to draw on a piece of wood or metal, then you carve it so you become a sculptor.
It's been a labor of love, absolutely. You can rely on somebody else to make the good art, unless you find something that just feeds you, and that's what I did. I knew I wanted to do it, but I had no idea how really energizing it was going to be and how much satisfaction I would have in doing it. I found something that just gave me that creative rush that I love and that I would hope others can find and enjoy.
For the most part, I'm seeing as somebody who's kind of old school. I still work from a live model. I go out on location, I paint on location. In this day and age, there's fewer and fewer people that know how to draw the model from life and make it look like them. It is, in a lot of ways, a lost art, but there's signs that it's coming back. That there's something to be admired about the old-fashioned, old-school skills of doing some of these things.
Drawing from the past, George Flett preserves Native American history and the pride of his people in paint.
10 years from now, you know, I want to look back on a piece of art and remember things that have happened, able to talk with my children, my grandchildren, anybody who has an interest to learn about our Indian people.
The thing that really makes my heart pump is the bamboo restoration and taking an old rod and bringing that rod back to life and making it look like new again and cast like new again and having that part of history in your hands. It just gives me a sense of pride, I guess, in being a part of that history.
And I joke about it, as long as the laws of physics and gravity hold out, I'm pretty much in business. These instruments, for whatever reason, just if they're maintained and repaired correctly or restored correctly, have a useful life.
Once it's made, it needs to be flattened, 3 lines, trimmed off, put a leather on, hang to dry for 5 days, make sure it's all trimmed up nice, and then we put it out for sale.
With Janet's show and tell complete and another handcrafted sweeper now ready for sale, it's safe to say anyone who enters North Woven Broom is bound to exit with a greater appreciation for a simple tool we often take for granted.
Our next collection of stories can be summed up in a simple phrase made famous by John Candy. It's planes, trains, and automobiles.
I feel that I've lived in the very best period of time possible as far as aviation goes. I didn't get in at the very beginning, but I got in when it was new enough so that I've seen a lot of progress and more or less grew along with it. It actually takes no effort at all to fly a glider. I say that now, and I know you can look at me and with this disbelief, but it's like anything else. It's doing it enough.
This car is just made out of pieces. The fenders are often one thing. The hood, I had the hood made. This is a reproduction grill shell.
They are the once derelict Fords found by a guy named Willie Harms.
All my life, all I've done is fix. I don't know any other word but fix.
Harms has always been interested in cars. As a child during the Great Depression, he made his own toy cars out of scrap metal and lumber. But he learned how to rebuild wrecked cars out of necessity.
Since its inception, Spokane FPV has grown to about 100 members, of which 16 to 25 racers compete nearly every week.
The different types of racing, it's all based around the first-person view. We all use a small camera on the front of the various devices and fly from the pilot's seat. You have fixed wings. It's just a simple plane with the camera on front, and it's almost like NASCAR.
I started flying in 1969, soloed shortly thereafter. Got very involved with the antique airplane community at then Gillespie Field in El Cajon, just outside San Diego. I quickly began to appreciate the joy of antique airplane flight. You really feel like you're flying an airplane, much like riding a motorcycle versus driving a Suburban or a transportation vehicle. You don't fly an antique airplane to particularly arrive at a destination. That's just a benefit if it happens to end up that way.
Renamed the Spirit of Summerland in 2010, the century-old 3716, with all its bells and whistles, is a crowd favorite. Yet by no means is it the only feature that makes a ride on the Kettle Valley Steam Railway so enjoyable.
We do follow the sides of the mountain through Prairie Valley, so you're looking down on the valley itself, and most of the valley now is being converted over into wineries, and it looks very beautiful. And of course it's those other things, the sound of the engine, the whistle, the click-clack of the wheels.
Racing around a track that has channels 14 feet wide and 2.5 to 3 feet deep and 1,500 feet in length, the ride can be hairy, especially when viewed from the cockpit.
You got to remember they're going over some of those spots 2 or 3 times in a race because they're going out and doing a circle around one island and then coming back and going through it. It's basically like a bunch of islands they're out there racing around. So it gets pretty entertaining. When the driver's going right and the navigator's pointing left, they end up on shore or upside down, and you'll see it all.
Living in a region with hundreds of lakes, we had to slip a watercraft in there, didn't we? Our friends in BC showed us they don't need engines to race their boats.
Just about anybody, quite honestly, could get in a dragon boat and with a little bit of coaching could go out and paddle. It all comes down to being able to work with the rest of the team, how you put the paddle into the water, how you put pressure on the blade through the stroke, and then how you exit the water. And it's anywhere from 2 minutes to 2.5 minutes of racing, and then you're done, and then you pull in and you step off onto your sandy beach and you can head to the beer garden.
It's been a good money maker for our community, and the crowd really seems to enjoy it, and you get them hitting hard and heavy and the crowd just roars and you're wound up like an 8-day clock.
Just having fun. I just like to go as fast as I can and hit as hard as I can.
Originally, the vision of the folks in the Medical Lake community is they wanted something that could be a fundraiser for a few charitable organizations in Medical Lake. But, you know, it was also from the get-go about promoting bluegrass music, you know, just as a cultural art form, and educating people about the history of bluegrass.
Global Fest is really a celebration of what it is to be Canadian and to be from afar, because we all, in some way and sometime, came from somewhere else. And so this is a wonderful opportunity to reconnect with your roots and to share in that celebration, and then to also have the opportunity for some really meaty conversation.
This year, in 2017, while Canada observes its 150th year and Global Fest observes its 15th, it's apropos that Canadians celebrate their pride in a country that reveres community and diversity with a likewise festival.
Tribal members have shared their ceremonies and customs with our audience, while they continue working to save traditional knowledge from being lost forever.
For the past 4 years, the Upper Columbia tribes have joined together to paddle traditional dugout canoes on the Columbia River to Kettle Falls, our historic fishing site.
I think about my ancestors that paddled this river before me. To think of the strokes that they took, the route they took, the lands they saw.
The 8-day, 100-mile canoe journey reconnects our people to the water and our traditional ways.
Well, I make 2 canoes. I make a bark sturgeon nose canoe, which was founded by the ancestors since time immemorial. And I also make a contemporary canoe, which I have named the Salish and sturgeon nose canoe.
Their songs and culture reverberate across time. Those reverberations are now taking physical form in Blackfoot Crossing Historical Park.
This site was a gathering spot for the Blackfoot people for various purposes.
Blackfoot Crossing is located east of Calgary, Alberta, and is operated by the Siksika Nation, which is part of the Blackfoot Confederacy.
Kids learning all these different arts of the Spokane tribe.
Look what I made.
The art is the product of culture. It is not culture itself. The culture is taught by the interaction between the teacher and the student.
It was Rudyard Kipling who said, if history were taught in the form of stories, it would never be forgotten. Here are some stories that have kept our regional history alive.
He landed here at Phelps Field in 1927 in what would be about July, and then they went to the Spokane Fairgrounds, I think, where they used the stage there, and that's now the Playfair racetrack or something. And he was here a short time.
Helped by the enthusiasm generated by Lindbergh's epic flight and personal visit, Spokane and Phelps Field would, in the fall of 1927, capture national attention.
On September 23rd, 24th, and 25th, Spokane put on the first successful national air races and national air derby.
It's been written that Bannack is not a dead ghost town, but a living classroom. A place frozen in time that's been preserved and protected rather than restored and exploited. Simply put, Bannack is authentic. It's rough and it's raw, but then so was the history of the American West.
Bannack is really representative of many Western towns, not just gold mining towns, but this town and the individuals that lived here really struggled to survive. And it's this continual community that I think is the point that people really need to grasp.
What makes this new green space so special to the community of Spokane is tied not just to the garden's rich history and the fact that it's nearly 120 years old, but also to the incomprehensible notion that this historically significant garden, due to neglect and the ravages of nature, lay dormant and hidden from public awareness for most of its life, some 75 years. Ironically, in the end, it would turn out to be Mother Nature in the mid-1990s who would open the door to the garden's rediscovery and eventually lead to its complete restoration a decade later.
Just when I first stepped out the bus today, and just sort of sad memories. But like those speakers said, that they hope it never happens again to any race.
And so pilgrimages like this try to focus the attention of, even though we're looking in the rearview mirror at what happened in 1942, as a driver, I know you're always looking forward. So what we have to do is make sure, as we look forward, that we never let people forget what happened during that time.
Now you know the story of the Hutton Settlement, the place I call home.
Born during the Depression, Spokane's Fox Theater, with all of its elegance and artistic charm, proved at the time to be just what the community needed. Over the next 6 decades, the Fox would continue to fulfill that role by playing host to a multitude of Hollywood and world-renowned performers, countless blockbuster movies from Gone with the Wind to E.T., and finally by being that special place where many in Spokane grew up, took their first date, stole their first kiss, and even walked across the stage to graduate.
After 59 years of service, the SS Moy was retired and bought by the city of Kaslo for $1, then handed over to the newly incorporated Kootenai Lake Historical Society, which took on the task of preserving the historic ship and telling its story.
To cap off our retrospective, we decided to let our YouTube audience pick the last story. With 6 million views since it was posted in 2017, here is K9 to 5.
The Spokane Police K9 Unit provides support to city police officers and other regional law enforcement agencies by searching buildings and vehicles, finding crime scene evidence, locating missing people, drugs, and explosives. They also track wrongdoers on the run and keep police officers safe.
So much of our job is we have to react to it, and the more reaction time we have, the safer it's going to be for us. So if we're tracking somebody down, he's hiding, Talon can hopefully indicate that the bad guy's hiding right there. That allows us to set up a plan, figure out what we want to do. They definitely help us do our job a whole lot safer.
I hope you enjoyed this sampling of Northwest profiles through the years. These stories and more are waiting for you to watch anytime on the PBS app, ksps.org, and on our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again on the next edition of Northwest Profiles.